Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another season of the Teacup for One movie marathon. Hold on. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. Yeah, and this week we are kicking off a brand new month, a brand new marathon. This month is Banned Book Month, and ironically, we're not actually reading anything. We're watching movies that are based on banned books, which is something I've wanted to do for a while, actually. But then the spark kind of came because I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, which is Down the Yellow Brick Pod. It's a Wizard of Oz themed podcast, but they delve into a lot of Oz adjacent issues. And fun fact, The Wizard of Oz is like a multiple times historically banned book. And one of the hosts, Tara, is currently doing her master's in library studies or library sciences, I believe. So she gave a whole overview on the history of book banning, books being challenged. And then that kind of lit the spark for me where I thought, you know what? I've wanted to watch banned book movies and do that here on the show for a while. Why not now? Let's go. So now is the time. So over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be watching and discussing movies based on historically banned books. And the other cool thing about all these movies is that I kind of picked movies that were both based on banned books, but were also some kind of dystopia because I mean, books can be banned for all sorts of reasons. Obviously, Wizard of Oz is it not a dystopia? I mean, that's a bigger question. Emerald City has a lot of weird stuff going on subtextually. But either way, books can be banned for all kinds of reasons. Like Dr. Seuss books have been banned. Gone with the Wind was banned. Well, I was going to say that's not a dystopia, but it also kind of is. But anyway, we're talking mostly about dystopian science fiction novels, a lot of them taking place in the future, the speculative future. And so today we're starting with what I think is widely considered one of the most like classic dystopian novels. We're doing George Orwell's 1984. Woo! So we've got one guest for tonight. You know her, you love her. Look, everyone, it's Jeanette.
Hello.
Hello, Jeanette. Welcome. Jeanette, what does 2 plus 2 equal?
4.
How many fingers am I holding up?
4, but you're missing your thumb, so that doesn't count.
Well said, well said. Jeanette, welcome. Welcome to Banned Book Month.
Yes, I'm excited.
I am too. It's always fun to like coming right out of Cinderella, which is just full of magic and optimism, and diving into like some of the bleakest books and stories of all time. Like it's a good balancing act.
Yeah, I mean, until recent years, I don't feel like they banned anything that was like happy and like lighthearted.
I mean,
Until
well,
they.
Wizard of Oz was banned.
Oh yeah, well that's true. But I mean, a little girl is trying to be killed by like an old lady in that book. That's
That's
pretty,
true. Except
you
it
know.
wasn't banned for that. It was banned because witchcraft and women in authoritative positions.
Yes, I believe that. Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, but anyway, 1984 has none of those things. So here we are. Now, I guess opening question. Well, I did my opening question was 2 plus 2. But did you read this book ever in your life? Did you have to do it in high school?
No, so I've never read this. I've tried a couple of times to sit down and it just was it was about as dense as this movie was. And there was no sexy vampires, there was no nail guns to the head, so like I wasn't, on board right away. There were no aliens. Yeah, so I skimmed over it. And then when we were in school, anytime that there was required reading, we always had options. There was always you can read this one or you can read this one. And whenever that came up, it seems that a lot of these things that everybody else had to read, I went the other way and read something else that ended up not being as known, I guess. I don't know. So like
Nice.
very few of these things have I read that everybody else has read.
Nice. I mean, I basically didn't read it. I did like my eyes grazed the pages with the words on it in grade 10. So in theory, I read it. I didn't understand it. I watched the movie to somewhat better understand it. But yeah, as I mentioned this to you yesterday when we were recording the other podcast, we like theme parks. Check them out. We love them.
Yes.
Yeah, but I started listening to the audiobook of this just a few days ago to prep, and I wish I did that sooner because maybe it has to do with my attention span. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I haven't looked at and or read this book since high school, but I found it a lot more engaging than I expected. And I think it's because I had someone reading it to me. But it
Yeah.
was, yeah. And I do think it's just based on like the 2 or 3 hours that I listened to the audiobook. I think it's such a brilliantly written book that is very much at its best when it's a book. Like there were so many concepts and so much of it is just taking you through the main character through Winston's like stream of consciousness, which this movie did a little bit with the voiceover, but to like actually be in it and observe it in a readable capacity, I think makes a world of difference. But there were so many things that I found really cool about this book on paper. But I think this movie, I mean, not to give away too much my thoughts on this movie, but I do feel like this movie is a really great companion piece if you've read the book. Yeah, to like
I would have to agree with that, because I could see, being someone who does love to read, I don't want anybody to think that like, oh, she hasn't read the classics, she's, illiterate. Like, I love to read. Anne Rice is my optimal choice of reading, so like it's not quite as flourishy as what's happening here. But like when you watch certain movies, you can tell if they were based on books. Oh, there's something I'm missing here because it was a book, and maybe I could appreciate this more if I had read that book. Like there are certain movies like that throughout time, and I could totally get the gist that this was one of those things.
yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I think one of us froze. Who was it? Who was it? One of us froze. Oh, are we back? Am I back? Are you back?
There we go.
There.
We're back.
We're back. We're
And
back.
we're back.
When that happens, I'm like, which one of us froze? Who are the people watching right now? We don't know. We don't know. Maybe both. Okay, what was I gonna say?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. One thing, like, I think the big thing with this book is that it's less a narrative than it is just world building. It's just a lot of world building. And then there's a little bit of a plot that goes along with the world building. But one thing I remember in high school was when the book was being introduced to us, one of our teachers said the first chapter or like the first third of this book is just them telling you what the world is, and then some plot happens. And I'm like, that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is. But
Yeah.
I guess we're getting, not to get too far ahead, let's reel it in a little bit. Let's tell the friends at home what this book slash movie is actually about. Jeanette, if you had to describe 1984 in 30 seconds, what would you say? Go.
Well, we keep using the word dystopian, but it is a dystopian future, or past now, where people have learned to live without aesthetics, luxuries, and are living below their means and are kept that way by an overarching government that would like to keep them ignorant.
That's a very good, concise summary of what this is. Yeah, it's pretty well just people living in a
It's also
totality,
what we could potentially be living through in 10 years. So,
right? Who knows? I think that's also why this hits so differently now. Like I don't think it's necessarily just that I'm older and understand it a little bit more. I think it's also living life.
yes, it is
Yeah.
far more relevant now.
Yep. So yeah, the things about the world of 1984, like pretty well all of London or Oceania, like as it has pseudo been renamed. I think Europe is Oceania. I think that's what the implication is. They're under the rule of Big Brother, who's just this mustache. He has a really great mustache and a really terrifying face, and his face is everywhere. And they just always say Big Brother is watching you. And all of these people have like these TVs in their homes that are two-way TVs. So they like the televisions can see everything that you're doing. So you're constantly being watched. And what they're super attacking is people's thoughts. Like there are legit thought police, which I think is just a terrifying and a terrifying concept. And one thing that was really interesting in the book, and this is not even super relevant, but it was something that resonated with me, was they mentioned that like in this world, parents fear their children because when the kids get old enough to understand the government, they'll turn their parents in and then like they're rewarded. Like that's the world that we're dealing with, which is, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I found it a little, like we just said, it was a little alarming, this thing of like, you can't say certain things or you can't think certain things. And like we said, being more relevant to the world right now. I specifically, potentially, the thing that I was kind of seeing was in America, Florida, with the "Don't Say Gay" thing.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I found that to be startlingly like this right now. With like the whole like ratting people out thing, like that was, yeah, I don't know. That really hit home on.
Yeah, what got me, and I think this was definitely more impactful in like the 2 hours that I listened to of the audiobook, but they touch on it in the movie as well. Just this idea of manufactured facts and like a manufactured past, like the fact that Winston's job is adjusting historical records and changing them so that they're concurrent with whatever Big Brother's regime wants in the moment. And then changing facts as well. And there was a really cool part of the book where it said that, like, for the day, his assignment was like he was told that I think like 25,000 units of something came into Oceania, but he had to adjust that number to overinflate it to be like 50,000 to make it sound like that much more impressive, even though in reality it probably wasn't even 25,000, whatever's like whatever the product was probably didn't even show up. But it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. All that matters is what is actually going out into the world. And that just brought to mind this whole idea of, to use the infamous term, the fake news world. And even thinking back to 8-ish years ago, like when a certain presidential rally, or maybe it was the inauguration, happened, it was like the most people ever were there. Then like we saw the pictures and hardly anyone was there, but they were just so insistent, like, no, there were swarms of people, so many
yeah.
crowds came out. And it's like, no, that's legitimately not what the facts are telling us. And that was what really resonated with me with this film slash book, was that whole idea of who controls the present controls the future, and the person who controls the present also controls the past. Like,
Yeah.
dang, terrifying. But that said, oh yeah, what are your overall thoughts about? There's so much to talk about, but the movie itself. I think you kind of touched on it, that it was a little dense and hard to follow, kind of like the book. But yeah, overall, was this your first time seeing the movie?
This was my first time seeing the movie. It was one of those movies that, like, because of the circles I'd moved in high school, it was definitely on in the background. It honestly was on in, like, the, like, in goth industrial club that I worked in.
Ooh,
I just never was watching, there was no sound, so, like, but it was, like, I knew the imagery, obviously. I also know the imagery from, like, that Nike commercial back in the day. You know what I'm talking about?
we
There's
might
a
not like.
famous Yeah, there was a famous Nike commercial, if you look it up, it's actually featured in I Love the '80s, like the VH1 series.
Nice.
And they did a rendition where there's like a big screen and somebody like throws something at the big screen and it like like
Okay.
explodes. I think it was for IBM or Apple. It was like, or it was Nike. It was Nike, but then they had another one. There were like two ads. I
Okay.
don't know. It was a big thing to parody in the '80s, and I wonder how many people actually went to see this in the '80s. I don't know, because like, wasn't this the same year that Back to the Future came out? Like, can you imagine this and Back to the Future? Like,
What a
what were
double
the two?
bill.
Yeah, like
What
what
a
were the
year.
two crowds like coming out of these two different movies in 1985? I'd love to be there. Um, I just imagine like, and then like you also had, I imagine there was probably a Freddy Krueger movie that year. Like the '80s were wild, man. I love it. But yeah, this movie, I don't know. Upon first viewing, it was a little boring. Um, I I didn't particularly care for any one person's acting. Um,
Really? Oh,
there's no score
I love that
almost.
though. I love that there's no score. That was something
I
that I blocked while I was watching. It was the lack
I
of score.
think it drove me up a wall. I think I literally felt like I was gonna scratch my eyeballs out because, like, I'd be sitting there, I'm like, "Oh my god, it's so freaking," like, the movie's quiet, my house was quiet, like, and I have a headphone and I'm like, "There's nothing ha is the sound on?" Like, I'm turning the volume up and, like, there's what's going on? Yeah, I don't it's just it was a very quiet movie. It was not super easy to get through, and I kind of felt like it was just repetitive. I kind of felt like I could have watched the first 20 minutes of this movie and gotten out of it what I got out of it in the end.
Yeah, that makes sense. The
Yeah.
torture, just yeah, we go jump straight to the torture.
I mean, we could have gone, yeah, exactly. I would have loved if they would have started on the saw foot. That got me. way more excited about this movie.
I forgot about that part actually until it happened, and I did not care for watching that. One also thing that I remembered reading was like there was an adaptation of 1984 on Broadway sometime in the last 10 years,
Oh my
and I,
god.
I remember seeing that, like reading articles and reports about how people were leaving the theater and throwing up. Like it was apparently such a visceral, overstimulating experience that
Maybe
it
that would be better for me.
maybe, but like I was like, how, when, and how, and where? And I'm assuming it would have been like that last third when Winston was being tortured. Like they probably did a lot of screen based stuff, sound based stuff.
Is there something missing? Like, is there something more violent in the book that's not in the movie?
I don't think so. I
That's
don't.
what this felt. That was one thing I got out of this rewatch. I felt like there was like you said, there's stuff in the book, obviously, that's not in the movie. And I kept feeling like there was something more violent and like bloody in the book, but I guess not.
I think it's mostly just like mental torture tactics. I think that's
Yeah.
ultimately what this is. And like they even kind of touch on it about how they need to break them mentally before they kill them. Like you need to
Hmm.
love Big Brother before we kill you, which
Yeah.
is frightening. Yeah, I think for me, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Yeah, I remember not super loving it in high school, but I don't know. There's just something. The movie is very one note. I think I remembered that and was
Yeah.
prepped for it. And again, I think I would have appreciated it less if I hadn't listened to a little bit of the audiobook because just being tuned in to what the world building actually is, like this, I think is a very good adaptation outside of the fact that you miss a lot if you don't have the context. But
Yeah.
for like like breathing life into what was on the page, I do think it's like I think it captures the spirit, the very bleak, drab, like nihilistic spirit of the book perfectly. I think it is perfectly cast as well. I think John Hurt, is it John Hurt?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think John Hurt is just such a perfect Winston. And this is also the last movie of Richard Burton as O'Brien, which the
Yeah.
first time I watched this, I didn't know who Richard Burton was, but now that I do, seeing old era Richard Burton, and especially knowing that it was his last movie, was really cool. He had some Hannibal Lecter-esque moments at the end, which I
Yeah. Yeah. I will definitely agree with that. It was very one note, wasn't it?
yeah. But I think the whole book is very one note. I don't think there's much of a point outside of it just being a cautionary tale, which is partially why it was written. I should have done more research on this, but I'm fairly certain this was in response to George Orwell's personal experiences just living in Europe when he did and when he grew up, which would have been, he was born in 1903. Okay, so yeah, he would have been prime age for both world wars to be like an adult or a teenager at least to live through those and to see what was
Yeah.
happening. Yeah, and that was something that I was kind of aware of in this movie, or yeah, in this movie and on this watch was trying to place Winston in terms of the timeline of the world because I think in the book they say he's 39. It's 1985. Um, and so I was trying to place exactly how old he would have been when the party took over. And I think it's just an interesting choice to place this book slash movie almost one generation into when the party took over. Like we're sort of at a point where the past is almost totally eradicated, except for the people who were around to remember it. And
Yeah.
then you just have to make a case of taking care of them as they do with Winston before the unimaginable future comes where they get rid of orgasms and the family unit and people are just reproducing to give Big Brother more
That
followers.
that was one thing that I found really interesting because it's like the opposite of what's happening right now, but it's still somebody trying to control procreation. Like right now, they're trying to force people to have more babies.
Mhm.
And it's like it's flip-flop, but it's still people controlling procreation.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah, and that's something that I'd be curious to potentially go back and like read the book for just to see if they dive deeper into that and what that looks like. Because there are just so many things I feel in this book and in this world that are fascinating concepts that maybe aren't necessarily explored, at least in the movie, as much as I would like them to be. But I do definitely feel like this whole thing, yeah, is one note on purpose just to say, here's a world that we could be living in. Take with that information.
Also, the one notedness might be to emphasize the boringness and dullness of the world. Like, this
Wow.
book has no arches, has no hills and valleys, because this is what the people are feeling. They're
Yeah.
just feeling this flatline feeling of like nothingness.
Until they have a wonderful affair in a secondhand store's attic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This girl's, I guess that was one of the things that unnerved me is like, I don't know, they're in movies when they have two characters come together in a sexual manner who seemingly haven't known each other, haven't talked to each other, haven't, like, to me it's very strange and it's very unsettling. Even in movies where it's not supposed to be. I'm just like, do you know this person? Are you okay? Like, are you with a safe stranger? No. I don't I'm like, I don't know. It's very unnerving. I was like, did you just meet? Have you known each other? That was something else I couldn't take away from this movie. I was like, do they know each other? Do they not know each other? Like, I don't know.
Right. I think they just see each other. Like just
Yeah, it
yeah.
was really that part kind of threw me.
Yeah.
When there's no, I guess really there's no relationship building in this movie. You go into it and they're like, here's Winston, here's the people he talks to, and that is it. That is all you know. That's all the information you have. You don't know before, you don't know after. You just know this time period that we're telling you. And that's cool in and of itself, but I feel like maybe if they leaned into it more even and like made things more mysterious, it would have been more exciting.
I think it leaves a lot of things unanswered. I feel like in the book it implies at least that is her name Julia? I think her name is
Yeah.
yeah.
Or Julie or Julia. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it implies that Julia is more active with the revolution and with what Greenberg is that the guy like the
That
revolution?
was that was what I was getting,
Yeah.
was that Julia, and then it almost that was what I was getting in the movie, was that she was like this person that was like kind of very involved in the rebellion. But then after they got together, it kind of like stalled out. I was like, so are you taking him to the rebellion, or are we just gonna sit here and drink coffee and be naked? Like,
Well, I feel like that is the rebellion. I think
I
them
guess
making
so.
coffee
I'm
is
like waiting for the Star Wars of it all, and it's really just being naked and drinking coffee.
yeah, except Richard Burton O'Brien, he even kind of implies that that's what the rebellion is before he comes out as being like, "Oh, I'm full out, like I drank the Big Brother Kool-Aid. I was just."
Yeah.
But before that, he more when he says like, "If is Greenberg the guy's name?" I'm just gonna call him Greenberg. If Greenberg was interrogated and asked for a list of his followers, he wouldn't be able to give one.
Greenfield, I
Greenfield.
think.
That's it.
I
Because yeah,
think.
it's more of the idea than it is an actual organized thing,
Yeah.
which they kind of examine on both sides because that other guy that Winston sees at the end after Winston's been caught says, "Oh, I'm a rebel, like I'm a rebeller, but I didn't even know it. They told me."
Yeah, that part to me, see, that's the kind of science fiction I like. Like that kind of like as far as like dystopia, like different alternate future, alternate history, whatever. Like that part when he's like, I didn't even know, and they told, like, diving into that. If this movie would have gone on for another hour and dug into that and shown me more of these people in chairs with, show me the guy whose fear was castration. What happened in that chair? Like that was that when he said that, I was like, where's that room? Like that's exciting. Let's dive into that. So I just feel like there were things they started to look at, and I
Mhm.
was like, yes, yes, it's a movie. Let's show more of that. And then they
Right.
stopped.
Like I
Like,
almost feel like
no,
this material would be ripe for like a Handmaid's Tale style TV show or TV
for
adaptation.
sure. If you just went into the world, show me characters that aren't in the book. Show
Yeah, yeah,
me what's happening to the guy next door to Winston. Like
yeah.
that would be cool. I think this world is ripe for stories. It's almost Man in the High Castle-ish. I don't know if you ever got into that.
I watched like the first episode or so, then it was a little too fantasy for my liking with like there's a parallel dimension. I was like, no, I'm not into this.
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
ultimate
but
reality. Yeah.
that world was kind of like where I saw this, and I was like, I just want them to blossom this thing in the movie a little bit more. But again, this is so dreary, and I guess that would kind of combat the point of it all.
Yeah, I think where my interest is I'm curious as to and who's to say if they actually gave me this, I might not like it, but I'm in a place where I'm so curious as to how it got to the point that it's at in such a comparatively short amount of time in like probably 30 to 40 years going from like the Europe of the 1930s and 40s that likely aligns with our real life history to how did it get there? Which is kind of always where my mind goes with these types of science fiction books, novels like Hunger Games. That's always sort of a thing that's in the back of my mind as well. Like, what exactly got us from modern day 2020s era to that?
Yeah.
And that's something I'd be just so interested to see explored a little bit deeper. Um, and then what was I going to say? Another point to that point. It'll come back.
So you want the book 1967
Exactly. I want the
and
book.
see what happened like around then.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, kind of to that point. I remember now. Another thing that really resonated with me with this material, I think it was in the movie, was Winston. I think it was Winston or O'Brien saying something like, "The purpose of the resistance isn't to change anything in our lifetime because it's going to take 1,000 years." Then he's cut off. I'm like, that is so bleak yet
Yeah.
so oddly relevant, specifically because something that I've noticed over the last 5 years with some major world events that have happened is that it doesn't take very much to like crack a foundation and just plunge everything into utter chaos. Like
Much
everything is
easier to move
so
backwards than it is to move forwards.
and it
And
takes so much longer to rebuild.
yeah, yeah, I would have to agree. And it also, to the point of the movie with them trying to stop procreation, is like the children are our future. It's a true statement. Like when you teach children something and you give them hope and you raise them up that way, that is what they will seek, is hope. If you raise them up with no hope, they will not, they will seek what they're in. So like that I that's another, to your point about like maybe like this world and there's other things going on in it, like I'd love to see a story about a child who was born in this world. Like
Mm.
him and that chick were, getting it on pretty often. I'm like, why is she not having a bubba?
Actually, yeah, that's a good. Well, maybe she was. We don't know what happened to her. And
Also, they're malnourished, so that could be a reason why.
yeah,
But I was just like, it is this interesting thing of like, how did we get here and where does it go? Also, yeah, where are they at in 20 years?
yeah. Like it just almost feels like we're on the track to just breeding people to just be these thoughtless whatevers, thoughtless working machines, maybe. But then it also just makes me think, to what end? Like whether Big Brother is real or not, whoever is behind all of this, like what are they hoping to get out of it? Like just control, hooray, you have it, there you are. Like what are they living for? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I figure it's mind control. You figure there's somebody living in like a palace somewhere who's getting all the good things that these people aren't getting. Somebody somewhere is using the resources.
That's
They're
true.
not they're not going to waste. Somebody's using them.
And I guess to that point, oh yeah, do you think Big Brother is real? I know they ask it in the movie, and it's like, of course, real like me. You're not real. But do we literally like? Do we think that that man's face is an actor in universe that they just like took a picture of as a symbol, or was he a real
Well,
person?
we see that they make people give false confessions. We see that they will reuse footage. I wouldn't put it past them to use a picture of somebody who's dead. But I personally, yes, I think Big Brother is real because I don't see a realistic world where there's not somebody or some people at the top, like I said, utilizing the resources that they're keeping from other people, from the people at the bottom.
Right.
So whether that person's literally watching everyone is another question, but they have other people watching them. So I feel like, yeah, like that entity exists and there is somebody keeping them under their thumb.
Yeah, I moved into the camp of I wonder if Richard Burton is Big Brother, which might be a little too on the nose, like a little too obvious. But that is sort of where my brain went because he even said like I wrote the book or I contributed to it. So if not Big Brother, like I do feel like he's very close to the people legitimately pulling the strings, which but also there's no way to know. There's no way to know what's real
Yeah.
in this world. It's insane. Insane. But I guess that said, what are your thoughts on this book being banned? Or I guess just book banning in general. Do you think book banning has value? I feel like the easy answer is no.
No, I think it has value. I think it has bad value. Like things can
Right.
have value and they can have very bad value. Like I think that it is an extremely useful tool for almost always, I would say, to this point in history, always the bad side of things, the villain side, if we have to point fingers. I don't think a good guy has ever tried to ban a book for any particular reason. I think there are books that are banned for content, and then books that are banned for, to use the terminology of this book, thought crime. Like, you know, I suggested this month, one of the ones that we ended up not doing is American Psycho. That one is purely content banned. Like,
Yeah.
they said it was misogynistic or sexist or whatever, and that's waffleable, but like, it really was just because of the explicitness of the scenes in it. This book is not because of that. It is because of what it teaches you, what it tells you, what it shows you, and how it opens up your mind. And that's where, like, I can kind of hear the content side of things. I get it. Like, sure, you don't want to carry it in the library because kids can get it. Sure, then I got to go to Barnes and Noble to buy it. I'm on the fence about that too, but I hear you. These things, these are never for any good reason. When these types of books are banned, it's always to stop people from expanding their mind. And so it's always a bad thing.
Yeah. I did a quick ask to ChatGPT about the history of this book being banned. I could have done my own research, but like, I'm living this dystopian life where the machines do everything
Hey,
now.
it's 2025.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like even the act of me asking ChatGPT is probably aligned with Fahrenheit 451, but I've never read that, so we'll get there. Like,
I think we're all a little too scared of it. Look, I am an Epcot child, and I am a firm believer that technology is the way of the future, and I'm all for the robots helping us. It's fine.
well, actually, one thing that I saw recently, right after this was programmed, was seemingly in Fahrenheit 451, part of the world building is that instead of reading articles, people are presented with the option to just read a summary. And I was like, oh, I don't like that.
No, yeah, I mean, I'll always want to read if it's a
Now we're
book.
there. I don't like that. But anyway, yeah, I asked ChatGPT about the history of this book specifically being banned. Seemingly, it hasn't been banned as much in the US as I expected it to have been. Like, it was never banned nationwide, which I think is interesting. It has, let's see, some of the notable times it's been challenged was in Jackson County, Florida in 1981, because they said it was pro-communist and inappropriate for students. And then in the 90s, it was banned in San Antonio, Texas, because of language and morally questionable content, which I think is because in the book, from what I remember, it goes into a lot of detail just about Winston and Julia having their like rebellion sex in that little
which how many books out there that were not this book had that type of stuff in it that they did not ban, you know.
Actually, that's true.
Probably every soap paperback at the freaking convenience store, you know.
but never in a school library. Never in a school library. But the book, here it is. In Soviet Russia and other communist countries, the book has been outright banned historically because of the anti-totalitarian stance, which was seen as a direct critique of regimes like Stalin's USSR, because it was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It is.
And what's hilarious is it was banned here in some places because it was pro-communist, and then the communists banned it because it says too much about communism. So, like, I also think it's funny that everybody thinks it's talking about communism, yet we're sitting here talking about how much it's talking about I live in America, you live in Canada, like my current
we'll be one country soon, don't worry.
But like, it's very interesting. Like, everybody thinks it's talking about everybody else, and they're up in arms about it. It's just and then my thing, whenever anybody ever says that you can't read or see something because it's communist, right? They don't want the kids to see it. I'm like, A, kids don't know what communism is. And then also B, if they're being raised in a good society, what does it matter if they learn about communism? Like, the concept or the definition of communism. Like, why would that matter? It'd be the same as learning about the Lord of the Rings. Like, what you're gonna go worship the Fellowship of the Ring. Like, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter.
Right. But it does. It does.
I guess so. Everybody's so scared of communism.
You know, I was about to say, I don't even know what communism is. I do know what communism is, but still, I feel like it's sort of become a blanket term for things that aren't even communism. But
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like in Clue, communism is just a red herring.
That's what I was honestly, it's a funny statement because we all know it as a movie quote, but it is true.
Oh yeah.
Communism is quite often the red herring. And I think that governments look at this and go, "Oh no, what we're doing could be construed as this." I don't care if you're communist or democracy or monarchy. Like, I'm sure every government that would care to control people's minds look at this and go, "Oh, no, I mean, like, we don't want people to think this is what we're doing."
Right. Oh, that reminds me of another part of the audiobook that resonated with me so much that like made me stop while I was on my walk and be like, "Oh, I don't like that." Was Winston during one of Winston's flashbacks to when he was a kid and presumably like when the party is just starting to take over. I think he overhears an old man, or maybe it's his grandfather. Some like older guy says, "Oh, we never should have trusted him, or we never should have voted for him." And I was like, "Oh, I don't like that. I don't
Yeah,
like that at all."
right? Yeah, yeah, I know. I don't like there's a bunch of things going like right now, like pieces of media that I grew up with that I'm like, well, I watched that thinking that was some sort of weird out of this world, alternate whatever, couldn't, obviously not going to happen in this world. And now I'm like,
Well, yeah, I saw a TikTok of a now retired English teacher who said that she used to do an assignment where I think over the course of the semester, her class read 1984, Handmaid's Tale, maybe Brave New World, and another one. And then she asked them to break into groups based on which book they thought was the most plausible to become the reality. And over the
uh-huh,
course of her career, like it became less about what's the most plausible and more about like what is actually happening right now.
right?
Yeah.
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 Well, it's frightening.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it'll get happier when we like get to Handmaid's Tale. Um, yeah,
Yeah. You know what's funny is I think the one I picked is like the most uplifting story of all of them.
probably.
I picked Clockwork Orange this month, and I think honestly, it's the happiest movie of all of these.
Well, I don't know anything about Fahrenheit 451, but Ray Bradbury can write happy. So, no, he can't. But yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
you,
I was looking at it and I was like, man, I got the party movie. I picked like I picked I picked the party movie. Mine's like the feel good romp of the season. So
is it also a dystopia? I think it's a dystopian
it is
situation.
it's an alternate future. It's 1996.
Oh wow, we're moving ahead
It's
10 years at a
1996 in that
time.
movie. So, or 1996 or 1999. Yeah, in that movie. I don't think they say that in the movie, which was smart of Kubrick, but we'll get to that week. But like, yeah, it's a different year, but again, yes, a dystopian future. Uh, Maybe less dystopian than this, more just different. It's definitely not nearly as gray. I'll put it that way.
We had some green though when they went into that field.
Yeah, so let me ask this. Is that real or is that his mind?
Don't know.
I
I
always thought that was his
mind.
mind
I
when
think
he was
it's his
opening
mind.
the door.
At the
Yeah.
very least, at the end, it definitely becomes his mind when he's in the like the building of love or the group of love, something of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the Ministry of Love, I think.
Ministry of love. Yeah, that was another part from the audiobook that resonated. It was like there were three ministries: the ministry of like truth, the ministry of something, and the ministry of love. The ministry of love was the most horrifying of them all. It's like, wow, what a great sentence. Because that's where you go to
um,
love Big Brother.
yeah, I think I do. I think this is a world I would love to delve more into.
Yeah.
Um, how many adaptations of this have there been?
I think there's only been two. And the other movie, which I almost want to seek out, it was made a lot earlier. It was made in the 50s, I believe. Let's
Oh,
see.
wow.
Like, it would be fascinating to see what a 1950s view of this, like both the future for them as well
Yeah.
as like what's happening politically would be, because I think that's one of the really interesting things about this movie specifically is like I don't know, did you see at the title card at the end how it indicated the whole film was shot during the same period of time in the same location that George Orwell intended, like in the book? Like it was actually shot in London in the spots he mentions in 1984 rather.
Hmm.
uh, yeah, so it was definitely made sort of with a sense of this is the present versus people in the 50s looking ahead to what like their future
Yeah.
was.
it's fine. It to me, it's interesting that not more people have adapted it. Um, I would think with as popular of a title as it is, as well known of a concept as it is, um, I I would think more people would have done it. I would love to see, God, what 84 is 41 years ago now, right?
Ish. That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I would really love to see one now. Um, I'd love to see like a Ridley Scott. I feel like Ridley Scott would do this really well.
I can see that. I feel like it would be
Or
similar to
Fincher.
what this is. Yeah. Like this to me felt very much like it brought to mind a little bit of Blade Runner as well as Terry Gilliam's Brazil. But
I've
just
got to watch Brazil. That has been coming up a lot recently, and I've never seen
yeah,
that. It's been coming up so much in my life. So I think it's a
it's
sign I
such a
need to
weird
watch it.
movie. I didn't care for it, but also it fascinated me, like visually.
It
It's
seems relevant. It seems to be just like I need to know it to like know other things.
yeah, yeah. It is. It almost feels like a companion piece to this. It feels like the goofy cousin of 1984.
Okay, well that's intriguing. Maybe it has just enough extra pizzazz to keep me intrigued.
Yeah. But oh yeah, here we go. So 1984, the 1956 film. Yeah, it was a British black and white movie. Oh, and it looks like they give a little bit more exposition because it says for plot in the mid 1960s, a nuclear war and devastation of Earth gives rise to three superstates, which is
Okay.
the movie didn't tell us that.
No. I will say I watched the movie with subtitles on, and the
Oh
subtitles told me everything the woman over the speaker was saying, so, like,
yeah.
even when it was muffled, I could understand what was going on, and that really helped as far as exposition, to
Oh,
know
so much.
exactly what she was saying.
Yeah. I mean, I watch everything with subtitles just because that's a habit that I've always had. But I was definitely aware whilst watching this, like if I didn't have subtitles on right now, it'd be no go. Like I'd be
Yeah, I
losing.
think it really helped me with this movie. It also helped me stay awake because I had to read.
Yeah, and then also I think just seeing certain newspeak words like actually spelled out for you makes things a lot
Mhm,
easier to piece
mhm.
together what they're actually trying to communicate.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts on newspeak? Like, why?
I
Why
mean,
is
to
it?
me, it sounds like fake news. It sounds like the things they say right now. Like that's news speak. It sounds like fake news. Like news speak is a word for fake news. Like it just sounds like it.
Just dumbing it all down? It's just all being so dumbed down. So let's see. Sorry, I'm investigating other 19. What? There's a 2023 1984 movie? No,
Oh,
it was
well, this
made
could
in
be.
Russia.
My goodness, can we even see it here?
That's a good question. Is it on? It might be on Amazon Prime.
Oh my goodness, I feel like we have to watch it now.
Yes. It was shot in
Um,
Moscow. It's an independent movie. It was made without Russian government support. That makes sense.
well, yeah, I
Um,
would assume so.
imagine if that's the movie that they decided to fund, just to be like, "Hey guys, look, we're still cool, right?"
Yeah, we support the arts.
Oh my gosh. Uh,
Um, I just looked up, there was a band that I knew about, in, like, the industrial electronic, genre, in the late '90s and early 2000s called V&V Nation, and their symbol looks a lot like the ingsoc uh, logo.
oh,
And I
the
just looked at yeah, I just looked them up to see if it had anything to do with it, and it literally does say that they are 1984 inspired. Because like I didn't listen to their music too much, but
Mhm.
again it came on at the goth club that I worked at, and like I had friends who were into it, and yeah, and I read some of their song titles, and I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely influenced by. So like this whole band's like image and like thoughts are based on 1984. So I thought that was kind of cool thing.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, but can we see their this is one well, they've had a couple logos, but this is one of their logos.
Oh wow, there it is.
So it's very yeah, very influenced by the ingsoc.
Nice, nice.
I thought that whole why do we know why they chant big?
Because Big Brother,
Oh, okay. I was like, why did they just say big over?
big, big,
I was
big,
very like,
big.
what is that for?
Uh, yeah, yeah. This movie, like nothing. It's nothing, but it's everything.
Exactly. Like it's very intriguing, but at the same time boring. I don't know if I've ever been so intrigued and so bored at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect
Like
way
I
to.
couldn't stop watching it. I didn't want to not watch it, but I was like, can I get just a violin, something?
Well, I guess like I did. I mean, I touched on this earlier briefly. I really appreciated the silence because it made it so much more jarring when the anthem happened, like when they were
Yeah,
when just blasted. And then I think it also made it a lot more pertinent, like when the two of them were in their pawn shop um, area, and then just the voice came from
yep.
behind the painting. Like I think the use of silence to build tension, then just kind of shatter any sense of safety, is a really cool effect. But again, I think it would be better if the movie was easier to follow and made more
Yeah,
sense.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia and it says music by, and everything I keep reading says the Eurythmics did music for this movie. It must be on a soundtrack somewhere because it sure as hell ain't in the movie.
Or did they not write like the little trumpety thing, like the ba, 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 when it was time for Big Brother to give a speech or whatever?
I don't know. I'm just like, if the Eurythmics had music in this movie, I'd be so much more excited because I love the Eurythmics. I'm just like, why? I have to know now why, like, what the music was. Eurythmics music for 1984. I'm like, what? Because it says it's all over the place, and I kept waiting for a song to start in the movie, and it never did. Yeah, okay, here we go. 1984 For the Love of Big Brother is a soundtrack album by the Eurythmics.
Hmm.
So it's a whole album that they did for this movie, of which there is no music in the movie. I'm like, what? Come on now. There's literally a song called Sex Crime. I'm like, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna go listen to that immediately now that I know it exists. Why is that not in this movie?
You just like maybe you're supposed to start the album and play it simultaneous to the movie while it's screening.
Oh, like Led Zeppelin and the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah. Or Dark Side of the Rainbow or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Not Led
Maybe.
Zeppelin, I'm sorry, Pink Floyd. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, and there's a song called Julia.
Good.
Yeah. There's a song called Ministry of Love, Room 101, Winston's Diary. Like, these are amazing. Cool. Where are they?
Maybe they were, you know what? The filmmaker would probably tell you that it was there. You just have to remember that you heard it.
Yeah, no, the 80s were notorious for having songs made for soundtracks that never appear in the movie.
Really?
Like, but this is egregious. There's an entire album of songs, and none of them are in there.
So meta.
Double Plus Good. That was my favorite thing from this
yeah.
movie was Double Plus Good. I'm like, I'm gonna start calling everything that Double Plus Good.
I mean, if
There's
there
a
is
song called Double Plus Good.
Yeah, that is the piece of newspeak I would incorporate into my daily life. Double Plus Good.
Double Plus Good. I loved it. That guy made me think of like a character from like a Simon Pegg movie.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Like the affable fool.
I would love to see Simon Pegg just remake 1984. Yeah. Like
Can we get like the Hot Fuzz version of 1984? Yeah. Like he wakes up in the 1984 world and he's like, oh man, it's like a fish out of water story. It'd be great.
So much potential.
Can we get the Brendan Fraser? Can we get Link? Can we get Link from Encino Man waking up in 1984 and being like, whoa?
Oh.
Pauly Shore in 1984.
So much.
Like, this is really 1984.
What if Marty McFly went to this 1984? Like, this is
That's
the world.
What I'm saying. The fact that these two movies existed in the same year, like this movie, not only like, because like if you watch some movies from 1985, they don't look old or feel old.
Right.
But this movie felt like it was from like the 40s. Like it genuinely felt old.
Right. And I wonder how much of that is intentional.
It had to be. Things were shot so like 85. There's stuff I can watch from 85 that feels like it's from 2005, which now is 20 years ago. Don't listen to my old ass. But like, it doesn't feel that old.
Woo. Okay. I don't think I have anything else to say about this movie. Outside of
it really is just what it is, right?
Is what it almost to me, it in some ways it makes me think of Dune, and I don't know why, just in terms of not much happens, but I feel like it impacted a lot of other things and had a pretty big influence on other pieces within the same genre. Granted, I enjoyed watching this infinitely more than I've ever enjoyed watching a Dune movie. So I guess I'll
Oh
just
my.
think. I said what I said.
Oh my god. I wish Vince was here. I don't know. I would love Vince, are you in the chat? I wish Vince had watched this movie and was talking about it. I would love to hear Vince's take on 1984.
Oh my god, I
Vince,
forgot
where are you?
people in the chat. I'm sorry, I forgot to say hi. My cats are here. It's Eliza and Sabrina. They don't like these movies. They don't like this month.
Oh, and since we're not going to be on here tomorrow, happy birthday, Martha.
Oh yeah, happy birthday, Martha. Woo! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
Dear
dear
Martha.
Martha. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday to
to
you.
you. Woo! All right, there we go. Okay, I didn't do a game for tonight because
It's just us chickens.
so any closing thoughts on 1984?
Just that I guess I'm gonna have to like listen to the book or track down some other version. I'd like to do more in this world.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'll ever watch this movie.
Well, I feel like if you do read or listen to the book, you might be itching to rewatch the movie.
Maybe. I would agree with that.
Yeah, once you have the context, again, it makes a world of difference. But also, a movie should also stand on its own without needing context. So I do feel like that's
Totally.
one way where this movie doesn't necessarily succeed. But I do think this film is also more about like the idea of 1984. Like I think this movie is just a piece of the puzzle that is the book, like the ideas that were thrown out and proposed by the book, just to have the conversations going and to have these ideas continually sparked. Because I feel like that's something that this property kind of delves into, is just how art, writing, and media is a means of preserving like thoughts and ideas from any given time period.
Yeah.
And when you get rid of that, then that gets you one step closer to controlling people and erasing the past and rewriting the future. So just kind of the existence of this book and this movie as a byproduct, I think, is important more than it is entertaining.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I'd say, and I'm maybe this is a better thing to close the month on, but I'll start it and end it on this. Like, if a book is banned or if a book is challenged near you, if you're in a place where it is not challenged and banned everywhere. You can find it and you can read it, especially in today's world. And I just would say, like, it's happening more and more now, which is frightening. Because when I was growing up, banning books was the stuff of science fiction. It was the stuff of Ray Bradbury. That didn't happen in our world, and now it's happening again. So, like, resist. You have to.
Wakanda for oh wow, the Wakanda Forever is almost the same as the Big Brother symbol.
Yeah, we try not to do too many just hand signals in general. It's usually not a good thing.
That's true. I went to do it. I was like, I know it's fictional, but it feels wrong. I don't want to. So I turned it into Wakanda.
Yeah, and even that one's questionable depending on who you are.
Oh yeah, that's true. We could still love Wakanda though. Everyone can love
Wakanda.
We love Wakanda.
I just do a little Wakanda.
That's cute.
A small Wakanda.
All right. Well, small Wakanda. Next week is Clockwork Orange. Woo! I think this is the first time watching a Kubrick movie on this show, so that's exciting.
I think it is, and it could be the beginning of a lovely relationship.
It could be. I haven't seen that many Kubrick movies, so I'm
Which
excited.
ones have you seen?
I've seen 2001 and Artificial Intelligence, which isn't really him, but it's a tribute to him.
Yeah.
Is that it? Hold on. I know I have not seen The Shining because I keep saying I want to read the book first, and I'll never read the book because I don't read.
It is The Shining. The book of The Shining is really freaking like good though.
I'm sure it is
different than the movie.
Oh, Doctor Strangelove. I've seen Doctor Strangelove.
Do you know I've never seen Doctor Strangelove?
Yeah, there's no fighting in the war room. What else?
I tried to watch Barry Lyndon and I couldn't get through it. I was like, I got to try this again sometime. It's too much.
Oh, Lolita. I forgot he did Lolita. I did not see it, but he did it.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like that was a banned book. Probably.
And I've never watched Eyes Wide Shut.
Nor I.
Oddly enough.
Full Metal Jacket I've not seen. Spartacus? That was him? Oh yeah. I keep forgetting Spartacus was him because it feels so much like in my mind, Spartacus is a movie that was made like generations before Kubrick, but no,
Yeah.
that's just wrong. But anyway, there we are. Anyway, yeah, next week, Clockwork Orange. Yay!
Yes.
All right. Well, it was short and sweet, everyone. We'll see you back next week. Jeanette, I know it's just
Yes.
you, but let's go. Tell everyone who you are, where they can find you, and what you do.
I am Tinker J787 on Instagram. You can find me there. You can find me on the We Like Theme Parks podcast. And this week you can find me and Matt just like this, the same.
Yeah.
You enjoyed this. You should go listen to the podcast coming out on Thursday. And yeah, you can find me here next week talking about one of my favorite movies ever. And maybe I'll even get in a little bit of like makeup and costume next week.
Do it. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, hold on. It's me now. And if you're watching, this is my channel. My name is Matt and I have 2 degrees. And thank you for joining us for the first week of Banned Book Movie Month. Again, next week is Clockwork Orange. Following that, we have Fahrenheit 451. And then we're closing it out with The Handmaid's Tale, the movie, not the TV show. Apparently, the movie is really bad, but I didn't want to watch the whole TV show. So there we go. See you next week, friends. And go watch the Wicked trailer because I know that's what I'm about to do now. Bye. How do you end this?